Fans, at this time, please direct your attention to the 50-yard line. Tomorrow night, the Foundation for Saline Area Schools will induct their 10th class of Hall of Fame members, and we would like to introduce you to them tonight. Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Stephen Lodge, along with Stacy Rumsa, Executive Director for the Foundation, will present each individual with a duplicate of the plaque currently displayed on the Wall of Fame at Saline High School in the Performing Arts Wing. At this time, allow me to introduce to you the 2023 Hall of Fame inductees. First, Mr. Jerry Hasberger, a 1977 graduate of Grand Blanc High School. Jerry Hasberger attended the University of Michigan, receiving his BSNE, his MNSE, and PhD degrees. He served as a teacher and a coach for 33 years. During his tenure, Jerry was presented with the Presidential Award of Excellence in Science and Mathematics Teaching, the Siemens Award for Excellence in Advanced Placement, and was twice named Coach of the Year by the Michigan Wrestling Coaches Association. In 2006, he was recognized by the College Board for having the top AP Calculus BC program in the state of Michigan. Jerry also served as the public address announcer for varsity football for 21 years. Congratulations, Jerry Hasberger. Meg Scaling, a 1994 graduate of Saline High School. Meg attended Eastern Michigan University, receiving her Bachelor of Science degree. She is now the CEO of Galaxy Brain and Therapy in Ann Arbor, an officer on the Michigan Brain Injury Provider Council, and a co-host of the Brain Thropology podcast. Meg launched Galaxy as a home-based practice in 2007 that evolved into a specialized clinic in 2017. She credits her success to her amazing team, family, faith-based leadership style, and commitment to being a part of affordable healthcare solutions. Congratulations, Meg Scaling. Next, we have Emily Nash. A 1994 graduate of Saline High School, Emily attended Eastern Michigan University, receiving her BAJ and MSS degrees. Emily has had a long career in journalism, rising from reporter to executive editor to senior vice president of local news at the country's largest newspaper company. During college, she joined the Ann Arbor News as a reporter and later became its first online editor. She went on to become a senior editor at the Detroit Free Press. In 2014, Emily became the executive editor of the Des Moines Register, covering the 2016 Iowa caucuses, and later joined Gannett's corporate news team. She's currently serving as senior advisor to the National Trust for Local News and executive director of the Colorado News Conservancy. Emily currently resides in the Metro Denver area. Congratulations, Emily Nash. And next we have Ann Pellegrino, a 1954 graduate of Thornton Township High School in Harvey, Illinois. Ann attended the University of Michigan, receiving her BA degree. Ann began her teaching career in Saline area schools in 1958. She received her private pilot certificate in 1961, which included certification in multi-engine and instrument ratings. And in 1966, she became a full-time flight instructor for Gordon Aviation at Ann Arbor Airport. Ann's most notable achievement was flying a 1937 Lockheed 10 Electra, the same type of plane that Amelia Earhart had been flying, around the world on the Earhart Trail exactly 30 years later. She published her book, World Flight, The Earhart Trail, in 1971 and currently resides in Rome, Texas. Congratulations, Ann Pellegrino. And next we have Bruce Ross. A 1964 graduate of Western High School, Bruce attended Western Michigan University, receiving his BS degree and then Eastern Michigan University with an MA degree. In 1972, he taught medals at Saline High School and was an assistant wrestling coach. After obtaining his vocational certification, He taught vocational machine tool and drafting, where several of his students won state honors in various vocational industrial clubs of America contests, and represented Saline and the state of Michigan at the VITA Nationals. In 1980, Bruce started teaching driver's education, and with Saline Community Ed, was able to keep driver education in Saline area schools for 25 years, while many other schools ended their programs in the 90s. And after 40 years of teaching, Bruce retired in 2008. Congratulations, Bruce Ross. And lastly, Joe Schwartz II, a 1959 graduate of Langley High School in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Joe attended Capital University, receiving his Bachelor of Science degree, where he ran track. His first teaching position was at Utica High School in Ohio. And in 1967, Joe moved to Ann Arbor and began his Saline area schools career. Joe taught social studies, government, history, and PE for 6 years. And after receiving his master's in administration, he became assistant principal for 2 years and then principal for 19. A 20-year member of the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals, Joe was first a board member, then assistant VP, and then president in 1989. Congratulations, Joe Schwartz. Fans, these 6 outstanding individuals will join our previous 57 Hall of Fame members when they're inducted during a formal ceremony tomorrow night in the Ellen Ewan Center for Performing Arts here at Saline High School. The event begins at 7 p.m. and admission is free, and all are welcome to attend. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me once again in congratulating the Foundation for Saline Area Schools Hall of Fame Class of 2023.
Good evening. On behalf of the Foundation for Saline Area Schools, I'd like to welcome everyone to the 10th Annual Hall of Fame Induction Ceremony. I'm Steve Lotch, and I'm the proud superintendent of the Saline Area Schools. Tonight it's my pleasure to serve as your Master of Ceremonies. One of the most enjoyable parts of the Hall of Fame weekend is the opportunity to see and catch up with people we haven't seen in quite some time. We did last night. Students, co-workers. Tonight we're fortunate to have a few Hall of Fame inductees with us. Would any of the previous inductees please stand? This weekend, and much of the Foundation's very good work is made possible by the Foundation's co-presenting sponsors. This includes Kelly Orthodontics, Max Acadian Seafood Shack, New Foundry, Qualutions, SBK Orthodontist, and True Community. With a special thank you to all of the Foundation sponsors. Let's give these incredible sponsors a round of applause as well. And now for the Hall of Fame. A little over 9 years ago, the Foundation's Alumni Committee began discussing ways to honor those who have demonstrated outstanding individual ability, leadership, character, personal drive, and dedication. In short, we sought individuals whose lives and accomplishments have inspired and impacted our students and the Saline community. Now that we're inducting our 10th Hall of Fame class, the common traits among the inductees continues to be evident. While all have a talent of one form or another, I believe the 2 truly defining characteristics they all possess are a passion for excellence and for serving others. As we introduce the 2023 class of the Hall of Fame, I'm confident you too will find these individuals more than deserving of the recognition they are receiving. Our first inductee, Jerry Doc Asperger. Doc served in Saline Area Schools as a teacher and coach for 33 years. In varsity wrestling, Doc coached 5 individual state champions, 10 state finalists, 2 All-Americans, 4 academic All-Americans, and numerous All-State and academic All-State athletes, with 2 of his teams reaching the MHSAA team finals. From 1989 to 2016, Doc taught advanced placement courses in calculus and physics. During that time, his students sat for a total of 1,967 advanced placement exams, earning passing scores on 99% of the exams, and a top score of 5 in 75% of the exams taken. That is incredible. During his tenure, Doc Hasberger was presented with the Presidential Award for Excellence in Science and Mathematics Teaching, Siemens Award for Excellence in Advanced Placement, and was twice named Coach of the Year by the Michigan Wrestling Coaches Association. In 2006, he was recognized by the College Board for having the top AP Calculus BC program in the entire state of Michigan. He also served as the Mathematics Department Chair for 15 years and was the public address announcer for the varsity football for 21 years as the voice of the Hornets. Doc Hasberger.
Thank you, Steve. I know I told you this last night. I think Saline Area Schools is very fortunate to have you leading the school district at this time. And I'm proud to be here tonight with you. I have a lot of people to thank for me being here tonight, starting with my fellow inductees, Joe Schwartz and Bruce Ross, whose retirements paved the way for me landing my first and my favorite job here at Saline. I spent several years in the booth with Joe as his spotter when he was announcing varsity football, and when Joe retired, I just stepped over one chair and got to take that job and continued announcing varsity football for 21 years, most of those years with my wife as my spotter. And Bruce was the assistant wrestling coach, who in 1983 decided to retire from that position, which created an opening here at Saline that brought me to Saline. I got lucky and landed an interview with head coach Tino Lambros and somehow managed to get the job, although truth be told, I don't think I was his first choice. That was my first job at Saline, and of all the jobs that I held over the years, assistant wrestling coach was the only job I ever interviewed for. That's a true story. 3 years later, Hall of Fame athletic director Clem Corona called me into his office and offered me the position of head wrestling coach. I'm grateful to Clem not only for his trust in me, but for his leadership and his mentoring of a young coach. And I'm very grateful for my staff that I had those years that I was head coach, Troy Tomlak, Scott Blackmore, and especially Gerald Malachek. They made me look really good. A year later, Hall of Fame Administrator Terry Walters called me into his office and offered me a teaching position. When I asked him what it was I'd be teaching, he said he had absolutely no idea and asked me what I knew about geology. I told him I'd never had a geology course in my life, and he said that's okay, neither did the students. That first year I taught geology, physical science, applied trig, and algebra 1A at the middle school, where Hall of Fame math teacher Dwayne Koppelman handpicked 25 students for my class, 24 of the nicest kids that I ever had in my career at Saline, and one that I'm pretty sure Dwayne never wanted to see again. I am grateful for the mentoring that I received that year from Dwayne, from Ed Dahl, from Jay Starkey, from Al Ely, and Hall of Fame math teacher Liz Moore, who got me through that first year. 2 years later, Hall of Fame principal Paul Tebow summoned me to his office and offered me AP Physics. A few months after that, he summoned me again. I remember this because it was the last day before Christmas break. And he told me that the AP Calculus teacher would not be returning after the holidays, and he asked me to take over that class. At the time, I was teaching 4 preps, including AP Physics for the very first time. I was coaching wrestling, which only took about 60 hours a week or so. So, of course, I said, yeah, I'll do it. I'm grateful for Paul and for Clem and Terry, that administration, the faith and that they showed in me and for their help getting me started in my career. I'm also grateful for the wonderful administrators and colleagues that mentored me and helped me along the way. I would be remiss if I did not mention Gene Durst, Julie Helber, and the incomparable Hall of Fame Superintendent Ellen Ewing. But mostly, I owe a huge debt of gratitude to my students. The truth is, in all my years at Saline High School, not once did I strap on a headgear and walk to the center of the mat in MHSAA state final. Not once did I pick up a number 2 Ticonderoga and tear open an advanced placement exam. I stand here today on this stage because of the accomplishments of students. Emily Nash is a former student of mine, who we honor tonight because of the amazing work that she's done in journalism. I'm fortunate to have so many amazing students like Emily, students who went on to become doctors and lawyers and engineers, and even a few calculus teachers like Sarah Last, who's in the audience tonight. 2 students in particular that I must thank. 2 amazingly talented and smart young women. Jill Peters was a student in one of my very first calculus classes. Years later, we would fall in love and get married. I know, scandalous. Truth is, I was not her favorite teacher. That honor goes to Hall of Fame art teacher Taylor Jacobson and Hall of Fame 6th grade teacher Russ Ernst. Together, Jill and I would have a daughter, Cora May. Cora May was a student in one of my very last calculus classes. I wasn't her favorite teacher either. That would go to Russ Ernst and Hall of Fame teacher Deb Budnick, those honors. But what an amazing honor it was for me to bookend my career with the 2 people who would mean the most to me in my life. To my wife, to my daughter, and to all my students. I would not be here tonight if it were not for you. You did this. I love you, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Jared. Next, we have Meg Jarrett Scaly. Meg is the CEO of Galaxy Brain and Therapy Center in Ann Arbor. She's a graduate of Eastern Michigan University in 1999, an officer on the Michigan Brain Injury Provider Council, and a co-host of the Brain Therapology podcast, offering vital brain health insights. Her comprehensive clinic specializes in holistic therapies, PT, OT, speech therapy, social work, mindfulness, ergonomics, and more. Galaxy's ethos is to enable individuals to live their best lives. Guided by their values, build trust, empower positive change, and move forward, give back. The expert team addresses diverse needs, including neurodiversity, neurological injuries, trauma, anxiety, cognitive challenges, and more. Meg launched Galaxy as a home-based practice in 2007 that evolved into a specialized clinic in 2017 with cutting-edge equipment and a soothing ambiance that feels like home, defying traditional rehab norms. Meg's commitment to real-life therapy has led to a unique clinic and community integrated approach. She credits her success to her amazing team, family, faith-based leadership style, and commitment to being a part of affordable healthcare solutions that serve the community and inspire growth, independence, and joy in life. Meg Scaly.
Hey everyone. Thank you to the, should have put that one on. Thank you to the Educational Foundation for such a wonderful event and for all the hard work that went into planning the event. I feel honored and extremely humbled to be included in this group with so many amazing people who have influenced me and contributed to who I am today. A quick thank you to the late Mrs. Kruger, my 2nd grade teacher, who truly saw me when I needed her most. To the late Mrs. Campbell, my 5th grade teacher, who helped me embrace my creativity and who taught our whole class that everyone learns differently. Thank you to the late Barb Dobies, who was more than a teacher. She was a mentor, a friend, and an inspiration. Before she died of cancer at the age of 41, we had a wonderful visit that I knew would be our last. She told me, "Go and have a beautiful life." And that, Barb Dobies, I believe I am doing. To the late Taylor Jacobson, who provided such a wonderful and kind learning environment, and and who pushes me to expand my creativity every day. Thank you to so many teachers and coaches who impacted and helped develop and shape me. Thank you to my husband Chad, who also is an educator, for allowing me to take on big risks, forging my own path in the world of rehab, leveraging all that we built together for my entrepreneurial dream and mission. Thank you to my 3 wonderful kids, Anna, Sarah, and Clayton, who continue to awe me with your kindness, strength, resilience, and how you see the world. Thank you to my parents. Thank you to my dad for introducing me to the field of occupational therapy, and who taught me to use humor to lighten sometimes heavy and humbling parts of going through therapy. To my mom and Bob for being a solid support and an anchor for me, and for prioritizing faith and spiritual growth in our home. And to my late grandparents, who are all so special to me. My grandma Ely prayed for me and my clients, and for Galaxy Brain and Therapy Center when there were those days that we needed $10,000 by Friday to make payroll. God always provided. You see, success doesn't come easy, and any entrepreneur knows that it's a scary world when you're not exactly sure where your next paycheck is coming from. Or when you build a business with your whole heart only to have COVID or legislative changes in the funding sources threaten you and all of your employees' livelihoods. You never really know what's behind the bend, but I do know I was put here to help people live their best lives. Our therapists at Galaxy are amazing. Many of them, Debbie, Courtney, and Jessica, have been with me for 15 years. Galaxy would not exist without the amazing, compassionate, and truly talented life changers that I have built this company alongside. With her permission, I'm going to share a quick story about my first client. You can listen to our full origin story on iTunes or YouTube, and I really hope you do, because her story reflects the pure resilience and human spirit, and the amazing capabilities of our brain and our body's ability to heal. Shirley Ross is the reason Galaxy exists and the reason I stand here today. I learned everything I know by meeting her in a clinic right here in Saline. Evaluating Shirley was like having everything you learn in OT school and everything I was unprepared for all wrapped up in a package. What I didn't realize was that unwrapping this package would change my life and her life forever. In 1992, when I was a sophomore in high school, she was a teacher at the Adrian Training School, which was a school for kids who are court-ordered at risk. She was walking past the cafeteria when she observed a food fight that quickly turned into a riot. Like teachers do, Shirley ran towards the chairs flying through the air and pulled the main instigator away into the hallway to protect the other kids. She was thrown into walls and against a door frame multiple times. She was able to walk that student down to the office, but on her way back to the cafeteria to help clean up the mess, she fell to the ground from a severe brain bleed. Her recovery included months of coma, followed by inpatient rehab, requiring her to learn how to complete her basic self-care, how to walk and how to talk. Fast forward 9 years. It was the end of 2001, and I was working as an occupational therapist. At the time I graduated, in 1999, there was a saturated market of OTs. So I proactively dropped my resume off to every PT clinic in Washtenaw County, whether they had an OT service or not. A couple of years later, I got a call that said, "We have an OT referral and you're the only resume on file. Can you come and make a splint?" So I said sure, and I came into a clinic here in Saline, and I saw a patient make the splint, and I said, "Is there anyone else who would like me to see?" They said, "We have this woman, Shirley. She can barely walk from her car to the front door without having a panic attack, and she has no memory. We also aren't sure if she eats anything." Half of my schooling is in psychosocial rehab, and half of my school is in physical disabilities. So I decided to take a stab at it and evaluated her. I met her 9 years after her injury. During the evaluation, she said, "You seem like a really nice girl, and I want you to get paid for this eval. But my daughter is getting married in 30 days, and I know she'll be okay. So I'm gonna end my life, and there's nothing you can do about it. because I can't live like this anymore. You see, she had barely left her house for 9 years. She had a traumatic brain injury, severe anxiety disorder, depression, agoraphobia, left side weakness, foot drop, vestibular issues, cognitive disorders, including the inability to do basic math. For 9 years, she only shopped at a gas station by her house, and she knew if she gave a 20, she always got change back. So then she'd take her change and go to the bank and ask for more 20s. She had very little functional memory and could only drive a few places. She had multiple panic attacks a day, mostly stayed in her house with all the blinds drawn, because that's the only thing that calmed her anxiety. She had no joy. It was in that evaluation that I learned how hopeless she really was, but I understood why she felt that way. I wouldn't want to live like that either. I asked the director at the clinic if I could take her to a small market and teach her to go through automatic doors, help her be in a store without experiencing a full panic attack. They said, no, we don't have liability insurance for that. But I didn't take no for an answer. I called the head of the American Occupational Therapy Association's Ethics Committee, and I asked if I got my own liability insurance and saw her for free on my days off, would that be considered ethical and within my scope of practice? They said, yes, it's your risk. So I started seeing her for free. About 4 months into her and I working together, I got a call from St. Joe's Hospital at 10 o'clock at night. He said, this is Dr. Perlman. I'm the head of physical medicine and rehab, and I'm looking for Meg Scaling. And I said, this is her. And he said, I understand you've been seeing Shirley. And I said, am I in trouble? And he said, no, you're not in trouble. But I've been her physician for 9 years and she's getting better. What are you doing? I explained that I was doing community-based therapy, and he said, I explained that that was the beginning of my community-based therapy, and it's still a part of Galaxy today. He started hand-picking people that he wanted me to see. He had other clients like Shirley that had fallen through the cracks of large hospital organizations, and he wanted me to see them. Shirley's journey is amazing. I put all my creative energy into coming up and researching exercises and strategies that would get all parts of her brain working together. The power of the brain to heal is amazing. I really hope that you go online and listen to her story. It's on our website, and I hope that you share it with any friends and family that might be going through the same thing. She's such an inspiration. Galaxy Brain and Therapy Center has grown to serve southeastern Michigan for our home and community program, and we have a clinic in Ann Arbor. It's at that clinic you can actually meet Shirley because she works there 2 days a week now. You would never even know she has a brain injury. Thank you all so much for this honor and for allowing me to honor Shirley. God puts people in our lives for a reason, so be kind and never be afraid to do the right thing, because it might just change your life and someone else's too. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg. Emily Nash. Emily Nash has had a long career in journalism, rising from reporter to executive editor to senior vice president of local news at the country's largest newspaper company. After graduating from Saline High and while in college, she joined the Ann Arbor News as a reporter and later became its first online editor. She went on to become a senior editor at the Detroit Free Press, where she helped supervise coverage of Detroit's historic bankruptcy filing and federal extortion and bribery trial of the former mayor. In 2014, Emily became the executive editor of the Des Moines Register, which produced award-winning coverage of the 2016 Iowa caucuses and helped to launch one of the industry's first virtual reality projects. She joined Gannett's corporate news team in 2016 and was later promoted to oversee more than 260 newsrooms when 2 media companies merged in 2019. She was at the forefront of digital subscription strategy, audience development, network-wide projects, and recruiting and talent retention. Most recently, Emily has moved into media consulting and nonprofit work aimed at supporting and sustaining local news across the country. She is serving as a senior advisor to the National Trust for Local News and executive director of the Colorado News Conservancy and resides in the Denver metro area. Emily.
Good evening. Thank you to the Foundation for Saline Area Schools for this honor. It was very unexpected and humbling when I got the word about it. It's been great to be back in Saline this weekend. I haven't been here in a number of years. All of my family moved away, so it's great to have the opportunity to reconnect with people and to meet new people. This is the first time that I've been in what I'm calling the new Saline High School. Just learned it's been open like 20 years, so not so new, but new to me. Last night it was fantastic to spend some time at the tailgate and to see some of the old teachers, Doc and Mr. Ross, who taught me how to drive. My partner wants to talk to you afterward about my driving. And to see former classmates like Meg, who our formative years were spent together at Saline. The teachers here have just made such a difference in so many people's lives, including obviously my own, so it's really just an honor to spend time and be on the stage with educators. And thank you to those who have come to support me tonight, my partner Jason, my brother Will, who also should be in the Hall of Fame. He is the most talented of the Nash family. Saline is where my love of journalism was born. It all comes back to here. I was the high school student who cut classes, not so that I could go cruise around town and cause trouble, not that I didn't do those things, but so that I could spend time in the journalism, the Golden Sting office, spending time working on stories and helping to keep students informed. When I was in middle school here, I started a newspaper. It was really just a couple sheets of paper that we would staple together, but it was something that I really understood sort of the importance of journalism and of keeping people informed. And when I was promoted to be the editor of the Golden Sting my senior year in high school, I was so proud to be the person who was in charge of the publication here. Even as a teenager, I understood the power of words. To inform, to enlighten, to inspire, to educate. Throughout much of college, I worked at the Saline Reporter here. I spent my nights and my weekends covering city council meetings, spending time at school board meetings, helping to make sense of what was going on in this community for the residents that the Saline Reporter served. That's where I really grew a love of community journalism, and it's something that sustains me today. Journalism is a tough business. We're battling against distrust of the media and misinformation. We have a broken business model that has forced a lot of newspapers across this country to close. The Saline Reporter is one of those. Saline is lucky that it has the Saline Post. There are a lot of communities of this size that have absolutely no news source. What keeps me and many others who are in this business, still in this business, is that it matters. And I believe that deeply. There's a lot of studies out there that show what happens to a community when there isn't a reliable news source there. People are less connected to that community and to their neighbors. They're less informed and less likely to vote. Fewer people run for office. Taxpayer dollars are spent less wisely. And in the void where there's no news becomes misinformation, rumors, disinformation. And so that's why I'm here today, and the fact that you've given me this stage, I want to make a plea to all of you. Support local news. Please support local news. It's so important. Subscribe to a local news source. Donate. Stay informed. It's so important for our communities, and it's so important for our democracy. So thank you again for this honor and giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Emily. Ann Holgren Pellegrino. She's not in attendance, but I want to make sure I read her bio. Ann Holgren Pellegrino graduated from college in 1958 and began her teaching career in the Saline area schools. After obtaining her private pilot certificate in 1961, she earned a commercial pilot certificate with multi-engine and instrument ratings and a flight instructor certificate. In 1966, she became a full-time flight instructor for Gordon Aviation at the Ann Arbor Airport, and flew in 1937 Lockheed 10 Electra, the same type that Amelia Earhart had been flying when she disappeared on July 2nd in 1937 around the world on the Earhart Trail. Exactly 30 years later, on July 2nd, 1967, Anne dropped a reef on Howland Island, Earhart's flight planned destination, and completed Earhart's flight by continuing to California. Anne and her husband Don left Saline in 1968 for him to teach at Bradley University, and for her to begin writing World Flight, the Earhart Trail, which was published in 1971. They bought a farm near Story City, Iowa, and established a lighted turf airstrip that they maintained until 1998. In 1974, the governor of Iowa appointed Anne to the Iowa Aeronautics Commission and to the newly formed Iowa Department of Transportation Commission. Stacy is going to be sharing some remarks.
Hi, I'm Stacy Rumsa, I'm the Executive Director for the Foundation for Saline Area Schools, and I've had the privilege of speaking to Anne off and on over the summer on the phone, and I tell you what a neat lady she is, and it's been a lot of fun connecting with her and hearing her stories. And so she sent me just a brief little statement that she wanted me to read on her behalf. So Anne says, "I am honored to have been chosen as a distinguished educator, along with 5 other persons, to be inducted into the Foundation for Saline Area Schools Hall of Fame in 2023. I stand in good company with the other 5 deserving nominees and know we will all join you with our hearts beating as one during the ceremonies in September. I liked and respected all the students who entered my classroom. I had a great time helping them develop skills that would assist them after graduating from high school and journeying into their career paths, however varied they might be. I always wish students much success, the result of their hard work and a little bit of luck for them. Thank you."
Bruce Ross. Bruce Ross began his teaching career in 1968 at Concord High School, where he taught woodworking along with coaching varsity wrestling and JV football. In 1972, he taught medals at Saline High School and was an assistant wrestling coach. After obtaining his vocational certification, he then taught vocational machine tool and drafting. Several of Mr. Ross's machine tool and drafting students won state honors in various vocational industrial clubs of America and represented Saline at the state of Michigan and the VICA Nationals. Over the years, Mr. Ross taught metals and machine tools at EMU and Washtenaw Community College. During his years at EMU and WCC, he worked with the National Center for Manufacturing Science, developing and demonstrating curriculum for a mobile manufacturing technology classroom. In 1980, Mr. Ross started teaching driver education, and with Saline Community Education was able to keep driver's education in Saline area schools for 25 years after many other schools had ended their programs in the 90s. Mr. Ross retired from full-time teaching in 2008 after 40 years and continued with driver education for an additional 12 years.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the foundation for this honor. It was unexpected. I look around and I see all the people that are up on the wall. Many of them were mentors for myself as I taught here at Saline. But I'd also like to thank Dave Maris. He gave me a call 51 years ago to tell me that they had an opening at the new high school, which was the middle school now. And Dave had been my high school drafting teacher. So I came down, applied for the job, and Harold Hintz hired me. But then he told me I should fill out an application so that they at least had one on record for me. So, and down the same path as Jerry here. So it was a great opportunity for me to come down to Saline and work here. I remember the day a young lady came up to me as I stood in the hall outside. And Clem Corona told us that we were supposed to stand in the hall. I think he thought we were going to break up fights or something like that, but it was more for me, it was a social activity to talk to the kids every day. And she asked me where I'd been the day before. And I told her that the school had sent me on an in-service day, and I was at a meeting all day. And she says, well, you can't do that, Mr. Ross. I expect you to be here every day because that's just the way the day is supposed to go. And it was at that time that I realized that the most important thing that I did here most days was just be here for the kids. Not always the things I was teaching, but just being here for the kids on those days. I love the times I taught vocational classes and the technical classes and driver's ed classes. Teaching students how to do things was, I guess, what my mission was always about. The kids were just awesome. I look back and said to myself, you don't work at some place for 50 years, or almost 50 years, unless you're lucky enough to have amazing students, fabulous parents, families, outstanding staff to work with. And I look around here, former students, staff, some of you out in there that were also staff members. It just was an awesome time for me to be here. It has been a pleasure working with the people for all these years, and I miss the students every single day. I thank you all for this opportunity. Thank you.
Now, we actually heard a unique and interesting story tonight about Bruce, and John Boydman's going to come up and share it. You'll enjoy it.
I wasn't expecting to do this, but I did share a story. Actually, first shared the story in 2020. I was asked to be the commencement speaker for the 2020 graduation. And so, luckily for me, COVID happened, and I didn't have to, I lived in the Bahamas and didn't have to make the trip. Public speaking is not one of my strengths, as you'll be able to testify after I'm done here. But it's interesting. Today, I'm the chairman of something called the Sports and Health Tech Acquisition Corp that I formed with Tiger Woods. And 2 years ago, before that, I used to be the chairman of the Royal Bank of Canada. And a lot of people ask, like, how did you, achieve some of these positions in what you're doing today? And I try to trace back, these pivotal points in my life. And I actually kind of led a fairly ordinary life, but there are a few pivotal points that happened. I was honestly an average student, average at best, but I had an extraordinary education, and it started here at Saline. I did get called into Clem Crona's office a couple times, but it was never to offer me a job. But getting back to a pivotal point, I had Mr. Ross for drafting, and he was also my wrestling coach. So I wrestled 98 for I think the first 3 years, and then I finally got some weight on me, and I wrestled 112 my senior year. Went on to college and wrestled at Central Michigan University before I transferred into gymnastics because of a knee injury. And then I varsity lettered in gymnastics at Central as well. But my junior year, again, being an average student, I recycled one of my projects that Mr. Ross asked us to do my senior year in drafting. The problem that he presented was, assume that you're on a life support machine and someone kicked out the plug. What would you design to keep the plug in the wall? So I designed something called a plug catch. And being the type of student I was, at 11 o'clock the night before it was due, I dusted that off, turned it in my junior year in college, and it was due at 9 o'clock that next morning. And then that afternoon, a bunch of professors came to me and said, do you have a patent on that? I said, no, I don't. They said, well, we'd like to help you with the business plan, but the first thing we need to do is go out and get a patent. So I ended up getting a patent on that, putting a business plan together, and then selling it to a very large manufacturing company. So because of that, I was in engineering before, loved the experience so much that I switched to business. And so from there, you went into computers, spent 25 years on Wall Street, and then eventually got back to exactly where I am here today. But if it wasn't for Mr. Ross and the plug catch, I'd probably be an engineer somewhere trying to figure out how to sharpen my pencil. So I'd like to thank Mr. Ross, and certainly my education here at Saline has been just phenomenal, and I appreciate being able to tell that story. Thank you.
Joseph L. Schwartz II. Joe is a retired longtime Saline Area Schools teacher and administrator. Born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, he attended Langley High School and then attended Capital University in Bexley, Ohio. Here he ran track. He met fellow educator and future wife Betty at Capital. They've been married 60 years, have 3 children and 3 grandsons. His first teaching position was at Utica High School in Ohio. He moved to Ann Arbor and began his SAS career in 1967. For 6 years, he taught social studies, government, history, and physical education. After receiving his master's in administration, he became an assistant principal at Saline Middle School for 2 years, and then the principal for 19 years. During his time at SAS, Joe coached boys and girls high school track and coached football. As a sponsor for the class of 1971, he supervised meetings and chaperoned the senior trip to Washington, D.C., New York, and Gettysburg. Joe also was a member of the Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals for 20 years. First as board member and then assistant vice president, then president in 1989. Diane English is going to come up and say a few words about Joe.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come speak about my father. Y'all have notes? I don't. I hope I'll get through this. Thrilled when my dad called me and said he was selected for this honor. As a retired educator myself, I knew it was a big deal. And living in Florida and trying to get them here, we were like, me and my sister and brother were going, okay, how do we do this? How do we make it happen? So first I want to thank my sister, who flew from Vermont to Florida to fly down to Michigan, and we'll be doing the reverse in a couple of days. My brother, who was here in Saline, so we all have a place to stay. Thank you. Be fed. Mom, thanks for coming along. And my husband, who's helping me get through this. Stories. Oh, my dad has had many, many, many stories over all the years. I know in particular, I remember one, Dad, that when you were coaching and the football coaches came over and all sat down on a picnic table, which the ends of it did use like this, and the seats were here. And I remember coming home and I'm like, what are you doing? I said, well, I had the coaches over and they all sat down and the seats all went, and he was cutting some 2x4s to support the chair, the seats on the picnic table. But the one story that I've heard many times that I would like to share with you, I'm sure my dad had to be loud at times. discipline, middle school. You know, I'm certified K through 12, and if I had to go to middle school, I would have quit. Elementary, keep me in elementary. But he was quiet discipline. In fact, this time he was so quiet he didn't even know it. He had been doing something in the office, and the paddle, yes, the paddle, back in the day, the paddle broke. And he went, oh, I'm in a middle school. We have a wood shop. Well, let me just take it down to the teacher there and I'll get a new one. So he took the pieces, walked into the classroom. Teacher, of course, the principal walks in, you pause. Yes, what did I do wrong? Walked in, sorry to interrupt. Can you make me a new one? Teacher kind of paused and went, yeah, I can do that. Dad turned around, walked out. Piece of wood, he makes things out of wood. Make me a new one. And went about, did his rounds, as all good principals do. You do the rounds, check it out how everything's going. Was gone for a few minutes. By the time he circled back around to the office, his secretary at the time, Jill Maris, Joe, what? Who'd you break the paddle on? And he's like, what? The paddle? Who? Who'd you break the paddle on? Everybody wants to know. And being the person in charge just went, shrugged his shoulders, walked back down to his office. He had been pounding a nail in to hang up a picture in his office and broke the nail. He knew how to work it. He knew how to work it. Dad, you had a wonderful career here. No, don't do that. Don't do that, because then I will too. We love you. Your students love you. Your staff love you. And we're so very proud of you. Thank you.
You notice I've got a little bit of problem with my gait lately, and as it turns out, I am battling a thing called Parkinson's disease. And interestingly enough, our superintendent's father dealt with the same problem, so I know where I can get a lot of good help. Just some loose ends here. One, my wife Betty was my sweetheart in college, and she's been me all the way. She's a teacher too. And a number of things that I have had the opportunity to do because of being in the Saline area school representative. And a phenomenal amount of things that have happened. I don't need to list them and enumerate them, but I can tell you that if you understand Saline at all, you understand what I'm trying to say. The final thing I have to add to it is I was fortunate enough to join an organization called MASSP, Michigan Association of Secondary School Principals. 1988-89, after 6 years, I received my due rewards. After having 6 years of service, the due reward took us one simple thing, a ring. And that was it. They weren't going to send me on any nice big trips or anything. But Jill, congratulations, there it is. Now get back to work. And is it for me for 2023. I'm really thankful to run into all these people, and hopefully we'll be coming back just to visit. Thank you very much.
oath. Friends and supporters of the Saline Area Schools and the Foundation for Saline Area Schools, please join me again in giving these 6 outstanding individuals one last round of applause. The plaques honoring our Hall of Fame inductees will be permanently displayed in the main corridor of Saline High School. I saw many of you already looking at it over there, which was great. The Alumni Committee is absolutely thrilled with the 10th Hall of Fame class. Just as these individuals help from the foundation that Saline Area Schools continues to build upon, they continue to form the foundation that the Hall of Fame will be built upon. In the coming months, we will begin accepting nominations for the 2024 Hall of Fame class. We now have 63 excellent examples of the quality of individuals we are looking for. Now, Stacy Rumsa will close us out.
I'll tell you what, I am I'm not a native Michigander, but I am raising some Saline alums. Actually, one's a freshman in college this year, and I have a junior here. And hearing these stories and being up here with these distinguished people, I'm going to get teary, just makes me realize I'm so blessed to be in this community and for our kids to have been raised in this district because they started here when they were in kindergarten. So it's just, it's a fabulous place and I love hearing these stories. So anyway, as we exit the auditorium tonight for dessert, we'll be having a dessert reception. I would like to ask the Hall of Fame inductees to report directly to the Hall of Fame display for some photos. So I think most of you know plaques are down there. So just head down that way, we'll get some pictures done. And then while the inductees are getting photos, the dessert reception is going to be held upstairs in the auditorium reception area, the afterglow area that it's called. When you exit, you will see stairs over here to your left, so you can take those stairs. If you do need an elevator, if you go out of the auditorium just to the right, there is an elevator there, and you will want to take it up to, the button says 3R, so it's 3rd floor reception area, because we're actually on the 2nd floor. So on behalf of the Foundation for Saline Area Schools, I would like to congratulate the newly enshrined Hall of Fame members, and I really, really thank you for your attendance tonight, and you all as well. So please drive safely and enjoy the remainder of your evening. Thank you.